Right now on the National Weather Desk, the rain is finally going away in California, but not before washing out roads, flooding streets, and trapping people in rising water.
The damage here is severe from the flooding we saw over this week.
Will a warm February hurt wheat farmers in the nation's breadbasket?
We get all four seasons the same day sometimes.
Are this year's destructive coastal storms in Maine a sign of things to come?
At high tide now, there's no beach left.
The role one type of tree plays in Oklahoma's fight against wildfires.
The fire likes those kind of trees.
And important information for everyone who wants to experience April's total solar eclipse.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Emily Gracie. Most of California's weather alerts expire later this morning. But the cleanup from this latest atmospheric river will last much longer. Heavy rain pounded the state from north to south. This is San Francisco, where you can see crews had to clean drains to keep the water from flooding roads. The good news is the latest storm moved quicker than the one 2 weeks ago, meaning there's less damage and fewer deaths. Sections of Los Angeles saw up to 6 inches of rain on top of what had already fallen earlier this year. All that rain is taking a toll on roads. This is Niles Canyon Road in North San Jose. As you can see, part of the road just slipped away. It will be closed until at least Friday. And the California Highway Patrol rescued 3 people trapped by rising water at 2 separate locations in Paso Robles. One was rescued by boat. The other 2 were hoisted onto a rescue chopper by net. All the victims were evaluated and appeared to be okay. And in Northern California, the Little Chico Creek overflowed its banks, flooding a popular bike path. The region had been under a flood watch for several days, including Glenn County, west of Chico. Max Tedford shows us the damage and the cleanup that's underway.
And as you can see, the damage here is severe from the flooding we saw over this weekend. And officials tell me it's going to be a bit before that can change.
The water will remain on the roadway for quite a while.
Glenn County declared a local emergency Tuesday, allowing officials to shut off roads and get cleanup work started as they need to. Amy Travis, Deputy Director of Glenn County Emergency Services, says they've already requested support from the state.
We've seen damage to roads and bridges, also culverts, that's the drainage systems. Those get impacted by a lot of debris.
Travis says officials expect the emergency measures to stay in place for several weeks and ask residents in the area respect any closures in place, especially as rainy weather comes back in next week.
And because the ground is so saturated, the creeks are so full, the reservoirs are so full, that this flooding is going to take place more and more quickly with less and less rain.
The next weather maker will bring rain and snow to the northeast. The system will move across the plains tonight. Tomorrow, it'll bring rain to the Ohio Valley and Midwest, and by Friday, that rain will be in the mid-Atlantic with snow in northern New England. Well, heavy rain last weekend caused a massive rock slide in West Virginia. Bob Aaron takes a look at how officials there are planning to move the rocks off a busy road.
Crews will try to keep traffic flowing when not working, but detours will be up when the rock is being removed or when needed for safety.
We're not planning on blasting it. We're just planning on taking it and cut them quick or close enough to where it'll break at those lines. We're just going to kind of draw a line with drilled hose and then take the big excavator and hit it with a hammer and try to break it off.
A look at the concrete barriers that protected the roadway before the massive slide over the weekend give you an idea of the force of what 150 tons of rock can do, falling some 70 feet. Now, the detour conditions here will likely exist until next Monday, and that assumes the weather will help out road crews here trying to make these repairs.
On the nation's farms, managing crops from field to harvest is a challenge during every growing season. In the Texas Panhandle, warm February temperatures are starting to worry wheat producers on the high plains. Drew Powell explains.
It's the Texas Panhandle. We get all four seasons the same day sometimes.
If the wheat emerges early this year, the last thing ag producers and farmers want to see is a late season cold snap. Because once the wheat is above ground, if the temperature gets below 28 degrees for more than 4 hours, it'll do all kinds of damage to the wheat crop.
The big problem is if we get a freeze, in about 30 plus days. It'll be interesting to see because that wheat's still so little comparatively what it's supposed to be.
Warm temperatures for almost a week or two in the month of February means producers will be battling weeds on their fields well before the late spring and early summer.
And so we'll have additional weed pressure earlier than what we normally would. The best weed I have is one that never comes up.
The best thing for weeds is shade, whether canopy in the crop. And when you have a little crop and you're letting that sun hit the ground so much, it's just going to sprout those weeds.
Ag producer Dale Artho says a warm February means there will be a month of transition. The behavior of insects is often intimately intertwined with temperature fluctuations, which means producers have no choice but to spray additional insecticide. If we don't experience a cold snap in March or April, wheat harvest will begin sooner than planned.
If we get too warm early and that cold air is still building up in the Arctic Circle, it wants to spill down. Yes, I've lost wheat crops being froze out in April before.
Well, spring is just around the corner, and in many places that means the start of the cherry blossom watch. Meteorologist Veronica Johnson shows us what to expect from the nation's most famous trees in Washington, D.C.
One of the earliest signs of spring in Washington, D.C. are the beautiful cherry blossom trees. They burst into pink and white clouds of bloom in March and April. But the cherry blossoms, they don't just go straight to the puffy white stage. There are 5 different stages, starting with the green buds. Next up, the florets when they become visible, then the extension of the florets and the pinnacle elongation before we get to the puffy white. So take a look, because I'm predicting an early green bud stage at February 29th, which happens to be when the National Park Service is expected to make their announcement for peak bloom. So of course I'll be reporting back. Here's a look at last year. We hit the green bud stage also early, February 23rd, with peak occurring March 23rd. Now, as I mentioned, February 29th is when I think that we're going to hit peak here. Our temperature is expected to warm close to 70 degrees next week, and already it's been a warm month for us. Look at the temperatures so far this month of February, 43.8 degrees, the 8th warmest. And last year when we hit that green bud stage so early, well, we were running with our 2nd warmest February on record, with an average temperature for the month of 45.5 degrees. So that early warm just kind of pushes everything forward a bit early. Average peak bloom down around the tidal basin, oh, that's April 4th. I'm Chief Meteorologist Veronica Johnson reporting from Washington, D.C.
Well, when it comes to experiencing the total solar eclipse on April 8th, location matters. If you want to go see the sky go completely dark, you must be in the right spot along the path. If not, you might be disappointed. Meteorologist Ed Russo posted this graphic from ECLIPSE2024.org on Facebook to explain. On top is what someone will see with 100% totality, in this case, Erie, Pennsylvania. On the bottom is what folks in Harrisburg will see. Now, even though that city will experience a 92% totality, there's still going to be a lot of sunlight. So if you really want to see the sky go completely dark, find a place where there will be 100% totality. And stay with the National Weather Desk as we count down the days until that April 8th eclipse. We'll also share everything we have on our social media accounts. Well, something very unusual happened in the South Atlantic Ocean this week. A tropical storm formed off the coast of Brazil. This is what Akara looked like on Sunday. The South Atlantic Basin doesn't have traditional hurricane season. Akara is one of just 4 known tropical storms that have been there in 14 years. There's been just 1 recorded hurricane ever off the coast of Brazil. Akara stayed out to sea and does not pose danger to land. It's since weakened to a tropical depression and will likely deteriorate even further today. Well, in Argentina, a mosquito invasion is affecting the capital of Buenos Aires. It's a regional phenomenon linked to a recent rainfall, since mosquitoes breed in rain puddles. Now, according to researchers, the number of mosquitoes is expected to decrease in a week to 10 days, but they advise people to avoid being in open spaces where these population peaks occur. Well, coming up on the National Weather Desk, we're not far off from wildfire season. We'll take a look at how officials in Oklahoma are preparing. Plus, we'll get an inside look at what life is like for the horses and mules that work for the National Forest Service.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. We have a partly to mostly sunny sky developing for a good chunk of the area today. The exception at the coastline, there'll be some more clouds developing. That's thanks to an onshore wind. Notice these temps running in the 30s and 40s. Things stay pretty quiet today. We're going to stay quiet in the Northeast on Thursday as well with a mostly sunny sky. There will be more clouds in New York and New Jersey, of course. Our next weather maker moves in Thursday night into Friday, and that should bring some rain and snow.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. So far, we're staying pretty quiet for at least your Wednesday and part of your Thursday. We'll see just some fog in the mornings, but we'll be watching for clouds to thicken up ahead of a storm system that's going to arrive late Thursday. Until then, we will see a step up in our temperatures little by little, upper 40s as we move through your Wednesday afternoon. It looks like Thursday will be a bit warmer. We should easily reach the 50s to near mid-50s in the afternoon, upper 50s down south.
I'm meteorologist Charlotte Carl. Good morning. We have a very comfortable day ahead of us following high pressure just settling in over the area. We have 70s for the most part across the board. Atlantic beaches along the Carolinas and Georgia will be in the 60s, so very comfortable. Quiet weather until we get to the second half of this work week. Thursday, we'll start to see some clouds build in. We'll also see a front move through associated with a low pressure system that will cool us down.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
In California, both rain and hail during the long weekend were tinged with music, the sound of wind chimes on Monday. Meanwhile, rain plus a raincoat made for a fun walk for Miley the dog. A cool close-up view of this little chickadee caught hanging onto a branch in Tennessee. And in Utah, a slow, serene sunrise over Utah Lake.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
Well, now let's check to see weather in cities across the country today. We'll start things off in Syracuse, New York, where they are looking at an unseasonably warm day. Temperatures will be in the mid to upper 40s. That's about 10 degrees above normal. And here's a great shot of Providence, Rhode Island. Some sun there this morning with increasing clouds in the afternoon. High today for Providence is 40 degrees. And a look here just outside Chattanooga, Tennessee, a mainly sunny start to the day with a few clouds. This afternoon, temperatures expected to be in the mid-60s. And we'll finish off with a look here at Port Neches, where in Texas, where things got off to a foggy start this morning. Skies will remain partly cloudy with temperatures expected to reach nearly 75 degrees. Well, the recent rain in California has caused major flooding, and it's been a headache for drivers. But the farmers in the area say the rain is good news for their crops. Anna Monomore has more.
This winter weather has got Butte County on flood watch. Lots of people here in Butte County are seeing the storm impacts, including local farmers. And surprisingly, flooding and heavy rain isn't always a bad thing when it comes to farming. Since we see this kind of rain every year, farmers are strategic in the way that they organize and prepare their land, equipment, and livestock. I spoke with the Butte County Farm Bureau's Executive Director, Colleen Cecil, who breaks down the planning process and also touches on the dangers of heavy rain.
There's a tremendous amount of field work, land leveling that goes into place before an orchard is planted. And so these puddles are exactly how this field was designed, to collect this water so that it sits and it ends up in the aquifer. Nobody in agriculture wants to see this much rain at one time. and this could have devastating impacts if after all of this rain, we get wind.
Cecil says this is because trees are more likely to fall over or have damage because the soil holds much more moisture after storms, making the landscape less stable. So despite the negative impacts, the winter weather seems to be something local farmers have figured out.
People living along the coast of Maine are still repairing and rebuilding from back-to-back January storms. Homes and businesses flooded, docks and seawalls destroyed. As climate change leads to rising sea levels, people are now wondering just how much more they can take. Brad Rogers has more.
Before the storms hit, you had a lot of protection out here.
We had 30 foot of dune and the town seawall. At high tide, now there's no beach left.
The Seaside Inn opened in 1667. It's been in the same family all these years. The Masons' children would be the 10th generation of owners, but only if the sea allows it.
I don't know if we raise it, I don't know if we put stilts on it, but we're going to have to make some change sooner than we thought we had to. It's coming, and it's coming faster than we thought it was going to.
Climate model projections indicate Maine could warm 2 to 4 degrees by 2050 and up to 10 degrees by 2100.
And with the rise in temperature, you get the melting of the ice, the rise of the sea level, and you get more hurricane events.
Climatologists say on its present course, the Gulf of Maine will rise 1.5 feet by 2050 and 4 feet by 2100.
If the maps of 2050 are correct where the water is going to be where we're standing, there's not much we can do about it. We can't push it back any further.
The fact that these kinds of storms are happening to this magnitude, I don't see it changing anytime quickly.
Are you thinking about selling?
I am, yes. I've had enough because it's going to cost $40,000 to $80,000, according to my Google searches, to raise the cottage. Is it worth it? And I see no end to it.
Tough choices ahead for anyone on the Maine coast.
Almost a year after a wildfire scorched Guthrie, Oklahoma, danger still remains as a new fire season approaches. Grant Palmer spoke with the town's fire chief about what caused the fire to be so devastating and what they're now working on to try to combat future severe wildfires.
Whenever it started, it took off and it jumped the interstate faster than we could catch it. There's a lot of homes lost, a lot of vehicles lost, a lot of acreage lost, so it was a very unfortunate day.
Chief Lawson says in his 15 years at the fire department, that fire was one of the biggest and fastest moving ones he's been a part of. He says all the right conditions for a nasty wildfire were in place that day, allowing the fire to go on a 3-day rampage.
That day was prime for a wildfire, so we had the high winds, low humidity, the temperature was up, so there's all the ingredients were in place for a devastating day.
In addition to those conditions, Lawson says it didn't help that the surrounding Guthrie area is full of pesky shrubs known as eastern red cedar, which really help ignite and fuel wildfires.
The fire likes those kind of trees, so they burn easily. And any day like today where the wind's really high, they just take off and burn quick.
Now, the Guthrie Fire Department is working with the Oklahoma Department of Forestry to cut down eastern red cedars to combat the risk of wildfires.
We're going to start writing a grant soon it's a mitigation grant, and forestry will help come in and clear out some of these cedars or anything that we deem a threat for future wildfires. And if we're awarded that grant, like I said, they'll come in with their dozers, they'll come in and clean out undershrub and all that stuff that presents itself a wildfire risk.
Well, the National Forest Service administers to the nation's 154 national forests. They deal with everything from fighting wildfires to landscaping, but none of that would be possible without the group's mules and horses. Kevin Mackey met up with the Forest Service officials in Montana to learn about how the animals spend their winter.
Meet some of the Forest Service's most essential workers. These mules and horses are resting up on the ranch they call home in the winter months. Most are mules.
These mules are primarily used for backcountry and wilderness work, maintaining trails, packing bridges, making sure the public can get into their wilderness area and recreate. If it wasn't for these mules, it'd be a tough job keeping the trails open and and maintaining those backcountry areas.
Keeping the animals healthy and happy requires a lot of hay.
We're feeding over 191 head of stock today. They get about 5,200 pounds a day.
That's 30 pounds a day per animal. Winter is well-deserved downtime for the mules and horses.
I love their ears, Pat.
Ah, bliss. They love attention.
They're like kindergartners. Mules are curious.
Here's a friendly John who is really enjoying his vacation. In the summertime, he'll head back to Spotted Bear in the Flathead National Forest. When they're working, they pack crew gear, hay, lumber for bridges, just about anything required to get work done in the wilderness.
Mules have really nice flat backs. You can put saddles on them, and they hold a load really good. So they know they're here on vacation for a little bit. In this spring, they'll all head back. They'll get really nice.
All right, time now for a short break, but first let's take flight over beautiful Utah.
Well, a very good Wednesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. We've got pretty quiet weather across most of the Midwest for the day today. Rain's starting to try to move its way in from the west, but it's fairly mild for us. A lot of 50s, 60s, and even some 70s to the south. Now that rain picks up more as it heads into the Ohio Valley for the day tomorrow. It'll be there for overnight tonight and into the day tomorrow. And then as we head on into your Friday, temps cooling down for most of us. So a little cooler for your Friday, especially Green Bay, 27.
I'm meteorologist Chris Uche. Look at our forecast across the region. It has been a spectacular Tuesday. Clear skies and warm temperatures. The warm-up continues, and we're also going to pump in some humidity. So in the morning Wednesday, areas of low clouds and fog, Austin and San Antonio, around Houston, Shreveport, up into Little Rock. And then the afternoon, a lot of sunshine with a few clouds across Arkansas in the 60s. Otherwise, 70s and even some 80s possible on your Wednesday.
Well, hi there and happy Wednesday to you, everybody. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Out west, we have some action in the PNW. It's going to be showery. We have a chance for thunder, lightning, and hail today between the Emerald and the Rose cities. Meanwhile, in Las Vegas, mainly cloudy, highs back into the 60s. This storm continues to drop out of that region and push into the Four Corners for some snow in the Rockies near Denver later today. And that's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
At long-term forecasts, things can change pretty often. That's why meteorologist Lindsay Storrs compares weather forecasting to the popular Price is Right game, Plinko.
Forecasting a storm that is many days away, let's say 7 to 10 days away, is a lot like playing the game Plinko. When you've got a storm that's that far out, there are so many possibilities of track and timing that it can take, and each one has a different outcome down here at the bottom. So as you get closer to the storm approaching your area, no longer do you have all of these options of what can happen, but you're able to better narrow it down as to what the result of this storm will be. You're better able to pinpoint the exact track, the exact timing, and the intensity of the storm, so you know how much snow you'll get or rain if it's a storm in the summer. So that's why as you get closer to a storm approaching, a meteorologist can give you more specific details.
If you're looking for more great weather content, be sure to check out our social media. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms. Just search the National Weather Desk. We will be right back. Thank you for joining us. I'm meteorologist Emily Gracie. Make it a great Wednesday, and we'll see you right back here again tomorrow.